Hello everyone, today's exercise is going to be a little different. It is a choose your own adventure exercise. In this exercise, you will explore and discover a new command of your choosing and create something showing off that command. So the first part of this is discovering and choosing which command you're going to be learning. So that could follow a few different pathways. You could just go through the menus and see, oh, well, all of these commands are supposedly very commonly used commands, so maybe I want to explore align objects. Or maybe that's a little boring. Maybe I want to use text object. Text object can create text as curves, surfaces, or closed poly surfaces. That's pretty cool, that's pretty nice. But we're not going to do that right now. Maybe project. Project is actually kind of an interesting one. Maybe we'll come back to that. We could also, if you're looking, if you want something specific, like how to surface something, how to go from curves to models, you might look at surfacing commands. Some that we haven't tried are curve network, drape, maybe some of the other extrude commands. Yeah, there's some stuff here perhaps. Another thing you could do is look on the internet. So find tutorials that you might be interested in, kind of localize a specific command from one of those, and pursue that to really learn everything there is to know about that command. YouTube is of course one big one, but also Rhino, which you can just find by typing learn Rhino, has a curated selection of tutorials, which is in my opinion better than going to YouTube and relying upon the algorithm. So there's that. Once you find a command, let's look at project, for example. Once you find a command, a good next step is opening that help tab that we talked about at the very beginning. Redock that. This help tab, which I'm going to make a little bigger, tells you a lot of things about that command, such as the input objects, target objects, steps to complete this command, some of the underlying mechanics. A really good place to start if you're trying to get an understanding. So let's say that project is the command that I want to use. So first thing I'm going to do is just maybe start exploring what the command does and what it needs. So it says select curves and points to project. So I think I'll make a funky curve using the curve command. Okay, and select curves project, press enter when done. Now it says select surfaces or poly surfaces to project onto. Okay, I'll make, I think, just a sphere. Okay, so let's run the command now. Apparently we have what we need, so we can type project or click on that icon again, select curves and points to project. Okay, press enter when done. Okay, select surfaces, poly surface to project to. Okay, and you can see that it projected onto the surface of the object. If we shade this, it'll be a little more noticeable. Maybe we'll even do a ghosted viewport. So we can see our original curve on the inside of the object, and it projected the curve to intersect. Since we were working in this top viewport, projected it to intersect all in line with each other. You can see they're all still perfectly in line with each other, but they're intersecting and mapping to the surface. So what can we do with this? We can do a number of things with this. We could take this sphere and split with one of these curves. Now we have a hole that's this shape. We could take this curve and do something like extrude curve to bring this up. And you can see the extrude curves, since it starts from a curved surface, it terminates as a curved surface as well. It's always an equidistant extrusion from all points. So it's kind of interesting. Okay. What else can we learn about this command? Let's see. What if we undo and do the command again? What if we're in a different perspective? What if we're in this perspective? You can see this is the active viewport. So we can do project to project onto. And in this perspective, you can see, again, it stays all perfectly in line with itself, but the projection that we get probably isn't what we expected or intended. It's one of the reasons being cognizant of which viewport you're in, which viewport is active, is important. Okay, so let's do the project command again. And maybe next step after you kind of get the command working is seeing what, if any, mid-command settings you can change. So you can change loose, you could change delete input to yes. That might be nice if we don't want this curve to remain in there. You could dictate your direction if you don't want it to be dependent on your viewport. And you could change the output layer to a specified layer, like, if I could rename this, please. Why can't I rename it? Oh, I'm in the middle of a command. Rename this projected curves. And we could automatically have that project. We could automatically have that go to output layer input target objects. I guess I can't choose a specific layer. Interesting. It could be input current layer, whichever one's active, whichever one is whatever layer the input curve is on, or whatever layer the target object is on. Can't specify directly, so never mind about that. Although if we change this to that projected curves layer, change its color so we can know what's happening. And now if we do it, project output layer to target object, and now if we project it, they're going to be on that layer. Okay, so just learning the different mid-command prompts can vastly change what the command can do. For example, let's project this and let's turn points on to look at the control points. You'll notice another thing about project is that by necessity, it has to increase the amount of control points. It has to make a much messier and more complicated curve than the input curve to be able to map it onto this surface that you've projected it onto. Another thing to note that you might kind of glean from this is that the projection, this curve is approximately in line with this the curvature of this surface based on the tolerances that you have set up in Rhino options. We can see this because if that wasn't the case, this would have an infinite number of control points to perfectly map it to the surface. Okay, so that's one thing to note. Let's see, let's delete this one. And let's project this again. And let's see what happens if we do loose yes. I don't want this one. I'm just going to look at the top. So we can see that now the projection is much less accurately mapped to the surface. It's still perfect from the top perspective. We can also see that there are the same amount of control points as our input object. It did the best it could with the control points that it had. So after you have learned some of the limitations, some of the mechanics, some of the mid-command changes that you can do, you can start to think about how would I use this project command. And you might think, you might maybe take notes here, like maybe I could use this to create a I don't know, maybe to create a vessel. Then of course I'm thinking of a vessel. Create a vessel, then project curves. Maybe I'll say project illustrative curves upon it to embellish the surface. And the commands that I think I might use are, let's just do a rail revolve, curve, maybe I'll do an ellipse. Not sure if we've done that, but it's basic. It's basically a circle, but you can change X dimension in contrast with Y dimension. Ellipse. So this would be the order. And then I'll use curve again to make the illustrative curves. And then I'll use project, and maybe I'll use pipe to make them dimensional. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So let's follow that. So I'm going to come in here and I'll use the ellipse command from the origin. I'll make something like this. Then I'll come in here, snap there, and I'll just make a basic vessel. I'll use the rail revolve upon this curve from origin straight up and down. So this is kind of what we're looking at, a basic vessel. Maybe I'll cap it too. Cap again just caps the planar holes in the object. And then I can come in here and maybe I'll come in here and make this, you can tell that I like magenta by now probably. And I'll just use the curve to start kind of drawing. And one thing, I don't know if we've gone over the pipe command, so I'll show the pipe command really quick too. And I'll make this curve and then I'll make it kind of crazy right here to demonstrate. So if I pipe this command, or pipe this curve rather, then what it does is it takes a circle and basically sweep ones it with the circle. So let's pipe it. And I'm going to just do a non-variable pipe. So I'm going to do 1 inch, 1 inch. Okay. And you can see here it's looking beautiful, perfect, nice, nice, nice. Pipe is probably another command that would have been good as a demo in this case. But you can see here that we have some issues. I'm going to make this, I'm going to change layer because I can't really show too easily what's going on. And I think I'll just shade it too. That's not what I meant. I meant shaded viewport. Okay, so a few things are happening here. One, the surfaces are self-intersecting. That's no good. But even worse, the isocurves are intersecting. You can see that this isocurve is intersecting this isocurve, which is not good. That's I think the term is non-manifold surface, which basically just means messy and unusable if you want to take it somewhere else, like to be 3D printed or something, for example. So we want to make sure that the radius of our piped geometry is less than or equal to the minimum radius of change in direction in this curvature. So you can see here that this is much tighter than the radius of this circle. Okay, where if we did a smaller circle, so if we piped this with 0.05, 0.05, that's perfectly fine. Actually, it's not perfectly fine because that was a really tight change in direction. But other than that really tight change in direction, it would be good. Okay, so that's pipe. Zoom selected really quick. Where have we left off? Oh yeah, I was making illustrative curves. So I'll maximize this because that's what I want to be drawing in. And I'm going to draw my beautiful friend Gormlek Graphic. Is that his name? I think so. And he's a He's a robust fella, just like my vassal. And he actually has wings, believe it or not. That's crazy. And I think all of these changes in directions are not too crazy. And then, of course, he has a halo. I think I'm just going to move the position of this up a little bit, more centered on my vessel. Maybe over a smidge. There we go. Okay. So, and I could be doing something nicer. For example, maybe we use some of what we learned in creating compound shapes to create a kind of interesting shape, and then joining it and arraying it, something like that. I don't know, whatever. But I've chosen this, and he's my friend, so I'm sticking to it. So we will project this curve, or these curves, onto this surface. Nice. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I forgot his beautiful belly button. Okay. I wouldn't blame you if you couldn't forgive me for that. Okay, so we'll project onto this surface. Beautiful. And I will, kind of funny from this perspective, and I will select these, deselect these. So I just have these selected. Maybe I'll group them so next time it can be easier. And I'm going to do the pipe command. And let's see what this radius looks like. Too small. So I'm going to do 0.125. And I'll do a little bigger. Did I do 0.125? I'll do 0.25. And I think that's good. And on this side of the object, how am I terminating these pipes? Okay, let's look at pipes again. So since I grouped them, I can easily select them. Let's look at pipe again. So like any command, or like a lot of commands, has mid-command things you can change. In this case, what I want to change is the cap, and I want to change it to be round. And that basically will make a ball of the diameter of the pipe at the end of both ends of the pipe, or however many ends there are. You can see that right here now. Okay, and I think that projection looks good. Okay. Cool. So on this side, I'm going to Boolean difference the pipe. Let's see if it thinks about it nicely. It's kind of a messy thing that I've made, so it has to think for a second. Wow. And on this side, I'll Boolean union. Okay. And put it on this layer. I'm going to put it on this layer because that was active layer. I'm just going to change layer because I don't want to be looking. I like pink curves, but pink surfaces are kind of hard to look at. And here we go. We have our beautiful friend, Jormlegraf, whatever, something like that. I know that my friend's name, I swear. And on either side of this vessel using the project command. So you'll follow basically that same structure. You'll figure out what command you want to be exploring through either going through some of these menus, finding what you think might be an interesting or helpful command. You might start exploring a command and realize, oh, this isn't very interesting, or, oh, I have no idea how this works. Maybe let me choose something a little bit more simple for now. You could also look on YouTube or look on Learn Rhino to go through some tutorials and maybe find a command that looks pretty sweet in one of those tutorials. And yeah, after you do that, you will start learning everything you can about the command, starting with the Help tab, seeing the steps of the command, mechanics of the command, etc. Try a few basic things with the command, maybe some mid-command changes. And after you do that, you'll create kind of a plan of how you think you might use this command, really showing it off. You can see that I used 6 other commands here, and maybe pipe was like a highlighted command as well. But I think the project really is shown off here. So have fun with it, and I'm excited to see what you make. See you next time.